welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. I'm Coach, your host, David On Point Hump, and my co-host, Mr. TJ Hopkins in the house. Happy Hump Day, my friend. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Also, check out our streaming platforms as well. I showed the link to all of our major places. But let's get right into it. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the 2023 NFL schedule as it was released on Friday. We're going to talk about the notable games on the schedule. We're going to talk strength of schedule, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the primetime performances by the various teams in the NFL. And you may be surprised how many teams have 0 primetime games this season. TJ,
how many teams have 0 primetime games?
Yeah, you'll find out if you don't already know.
No, I don't.
But yeah, like, share, and subscribe. This is the 2023 NFL schedule breakdown. CEO of Prime Sports World, Mr. Israel Rivera, should be joining us here shortly as well. But let's talk about the schedule. Anything jump out at you before we get into some notable matchups? We talk about the NFL schedule.
Excuse me.
Let's do.
The Jets have kind of a gauntlet. Just a little bit. So
the NFL. So funny story. So the NFL actually had to wait to release this schedule until after the Aaron Rodgers trade went down because it would have impacted how many primetime games they were going to get.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What is it? Week 1, they get out the gate. Buffalo.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it here in a second. But yeah, they got a gauntlet. Their strength of schedule is actually pretty high. I think they have the 6th most difficult schedule this season. 6th. So they're not playing, they're not playing around when it comes to Mr. Aaron Rodgers. But let's get into the notable schedules on the games. There's some on the screen right there. 49ers, Eagles, week 13. Eagles, Chiefs, week 11. Bengals, Chiefs, week 17. Chiefs, Jets, week 4. Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers. Bills, Chargers, week 16.
Finally.
Panthers, Falcons, week number 1. Where we get Panthers, the first overall pick in Bryce Young. Then we got Bengals, Bills, the game that we never got to finish because of the tragic situation with DeMar Hamlin. Those two teams are now going to play in week number 9. Panthers, Bears, week 10 after the Carolina Panthers traded with the Chicago Bears to move up and take Bryce Young. So you get Bryce Young versus Justin Fields. Bills, Jets, week number 1. Josh Allen going up against Aaron Rodgers. The Jets, Cowboys. Can Aaron Rodgers still be the Cowboy killer that he has been as a member of the New York Jets? And Cowboys, Bills in week number 15. Of the games on this list, TJ, which do you think are the most interesting matchups, and which ones are you most looking forward to? And is there a matchup on this list that maybe I don't have on the list that you're looking forward to?
Obviously, I think the one that stands out the most is Eagles Niners. We saw what could have been in the NFC Championship, and the Niners feel like they have a right to, right? Like Deebo Samuel, he ain't thinking about no team but the because we would have beat you anyway. We would have beat you. I would hope you would be the team that was playing with a 4th-string quarterback and had to go wildcat with Christian McCaffrey at some point during that game. So this time it was week 13. It's looking like Brock Purdy's gonna be the starter, right? So Eagles, Niners rematch.
By week 13, Brock Purdy should be back in the saddle by that point.
I forgot he's well, he should be fine.
I don't know, man. I'm not really sure what the
when he get hurt
in the NFC Championship game. So in
January, I know that, but like
January. What
was it? And it's May.
And I'm not totally sure the 49ers even know what they're doing at quarterback. I think that's one of the most compelling storylines in the league, right? Like, you have Trey Lance, who assuming will be healthy by the time the season starts. You have Brock Purdy, who's a question mark. There's no Jimmy Garoppolo there. There's no veteran they brought in to be the guy who's going to be there for Brock Purdy until he gets back. So I think that conversation about who is the 49ers quarterback going to be this season is very interesting. Because they clearly want Trey Lance to be the guy. I mean, they gave up 3 first-round picks to make him the starting quarterback of this team, and he just hasn't been healthy enough to do that.
No, he hasn't.
I think also a rematch between the Jaguars and the Chiefs in week number 2. An interesting matchup as they faced off in the divisional round after Jags came back and beat Los Angeles Chargers in the playoffs. That's an interesting matchup too. I don't have that on the list.
So Brock Purdy, like the injury recovery time is 6 months. So he got hurt in the NFC Championship, which is January, right? February,
Yeah,
March, April, May, June. So like he has 2 more months. So by the time the season rolls around, he should be fine.
yeah.
And Chiefs Jets, because the first time Pat Mahomes didn't play, second time Aaron Rodgers didn't play. So hopefully he find
We see him chomping at the bit for that Aaron Rodgers Patrick Mahomes matchup. Yeah, we've been dying to get that matchup in a regular season or the playoffs.
because like it's like, man, it's like every time we think it was almost like the Kobe LeBron finals thing. It's like one year this guy made it, next year this guy made it. It's just like they never met up with each other like that. Uh, I'm surprised that the why is the Panthers Falcons on there? Like why is it?
So I only put that on there because it's the debut of Bryce Young. The first overall pick. Just to see how he looks like in an NFL setting.
Okay, I get that.
Going up against an Atlanta Falcons team. I put this list together. Like I didn't pull this from some database. Like I went through the schedule and I put this list together.
Okay, I get
Um,
that.
but Panthers Falcons, Bryce Young in the first game against an NFL setting against the Falcons defense that has the secondary to be really good this season.
Yeah, really challenging, and they're doing their own first overall pick in Robinson. That's also
Yeah,
not.
Bijan
I
Robinson as
mean, like
well.
you can't sneeze at it. Yeah, and then obviously Panthers Bears week 10. That's a Thursday night. That's a Thursday game. That's
Yeah,
a Thursday night game, which counts as a primetime game.
it does. It does. It does. It does. But yeah, one of the games that now that I'm looking deeper into the schedule, that Jaguars Chiefs game is a game that I'm pretty interested in. Seeing how that ends up shaking out. Um, but yeah, Eagles 49ers. I think on the list, the game that I'm actually the most intrigued by is Bills Bengals. Like we didn't get to get a resolution on that game week number 15 or was it 16 last year. That game ended after the Bengals scored a touchdown. The Bills. Obviously the game ended right
They're
there.
driving, right. They're
Score
driving
again,
down the field.
potentially score again. The game is canceled, and then they get basically the Bengals beat down the Bills in the AFC divisional round game. So I think that's actually probably one of the games that I'm looking forward to the most when it comes to this schedule. I'm also really looking forward to that Josh Allen Justin Herbert matchup. I don't think they've ever played against each other, so I'm looking forward to seeing those two guys. Gunslingers go up against it.
I'm looking for that. I'm looking forward towards that Justin Herbert, Justin Fields matchup. Bears play the
Yeah.
Chargers this year. That's
Yep.
also Khalil. That's also, if he's healthy, Khalil Mack's first game against the Bears since being traded. I think the one game that you are missing is the one that's kicking this all off, and it's the Lions and the Chiefs.
Oh, I thought I had that on there. Oh, I thought I had that on there. I may
No,
have forgotten to put it. It should be on there. Yeah, it could
it's
be. It could be low key. It's Super Bowl preview.
I don't think I'm not going that far, but if you're the Lions, this is a great litmus test to see
Where you are?
where you are and how far you have to go. Because I don't Pat Mahomes he's in that stratosphere of he's the early Tom Brady, the early Peyton Manning. Like it's like I don't have to have a lot. I mean, I have to have stuff around me, but I don't have the talent doesn't have to elevate me. Like I can elevate the talent. Like that's where he's at in his career. Like I make everyone else around me better. And they did a good job of retooling that wide receiver room because he had Juju left and some other pieces left. You still got Kelsey, who is still tight end one above everyone else. And if you're the Lions, you look back and like you were like a game or two away from making the playoffs your damn self.
One game. They beat Seattle in that shootout. They went. They are in the playoffs. Another thing that the Lions, they did a lot of work in the offseason, shoring up this secondary, signing players in free agency that supposedly We're gonna shore up this secondary. You bring in a Jack Campbell in the draft. This is a good barometer to see even where the defense is, because I think the Lions' offense is going to be fine. I think they'll put up points. It's really about where your defense is at, because the Chiefs is an ultimate test for how good your defense is. Like their offense, if you can limit them at all, I think that bodes well for what they're going to be having coming up. One of the things that I also noticed when I was ripping through the schedule, I am way more intrigued by stuff going on in the AFC than I am going with the stuff going on in the NFC. Right? Like I just like look at the NFC. I'm like, okay, the Eagles are good, the Cowboys are good, Vikings. They're like the teams that are bad in the NFC are like really bad. Like there are a lot of AFC teams that I'm looking at. And I'm like, yeah, there are a lot of good teams in the AFC. Like there aren't that many. Like when I look at them, like they're like the Colts and the Texans are not going to be good next season, right? But the rest of the AFC, I mean, I don't really know what I'm going to get out of any of those teams in the AFC. I think they all could be good, right?
No,
Well,
because
I mean, obviously they literally cannot be good. Like there's going to be teams that stink, but like on paper, like that's why we don't play games on paper. When you look at the teams in the AFC, I think there are a lot of really good teams in the AFC. I think there are more good teams in the AFC than there are good teams in the NFC.
they're just like here's the thing: like the heavy hitters in the AFC just hit harder than the heavy hitters in the NFC, and that's really what it is. I don't expect I don't expect the Raiders to be to set the world on fire. Like I just don't.
Okay, that's fair.
Right, and it's no like so like you, in my opinion, I don't say what you want about Derek Carr. Derek Carr was given, yeah, he had tools on offense, but Derek Carr never had a top 20 defense. And then they wondered why Derek Carr sucked, and it's like no, it's like I need it's a team sport. Like if I'm scoring 30, but my defense is giving up 31, how's that my fault?
Yep.
So yeah, like and Chandler Jones has not been what they thought he would be.
Outside of that game, that walk off against New England, he hasn't really been good for them at all.
All right, so it's Max Crosby, and then this is why you drafted
Tyree Wilson.
Yeah, from Texas Tech. So it's like, all right, Chandler, the writing's pretty much on the wall for you. So we're gonna need you to mentor the young gun. Then you trade what's his name, Darren Waller to the Giants. So it's like, now it's Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfro, and now who else? Who else is he throwing to? Who else is Jimmy G throwing to?
I mean, they still got Josh Jacobs, who's coming off his best season as a pro, led the league in rushing. So,
and there were threats of him, and there were threats of like you losing him because you didn't want to. Like there was like, oh, we don't want to pay
because they declined his fifth-year option. So there was for sure some animosity there between that Josh Jacobs and the Las Vegas Raiders. Moving on from the schedule, let's talk about strength of schedule. And the Eagles have the most difficult schedule. This is all I can do right now.
Okay, I got you. Go ahead.
I'll make it a little bit bigger in a second. So the Eagles have the most difficult schedule, followed by the Dolphins, Giants, Patriots, and Cowboys. The easiest schedule, and the Titans, Colts, Texans, Saints, and Falcons have the easiest schedule. I will go ahead and I will make that a little bit bigger here in a second. Any of the teams that trying to jump out at you as being scheduled too easy or too hard, or just anything like that in general?
Well, I'm not going to say the Falcon schedule is too easy because the NFC South is now the bottom of the barrel. Like that is now the worst division in football, competing with the AFC South. I ironically, Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, Bryce Young, and who am I missing? Desmond Ritter. Desmond Ritter. Those are the quarterbacks in the NFC South. Basically, this should be a cakewalk for the Saints. Should be an absolute cakewalk for the Saints. And in the AFC South, Will Levis / Malik Willis / Ryan Tannehill because they haven't gotten rid of him.
I imagine that Ryan Tannehill will be the starting quarterback. One of the things that kind of jumps out at me here is like how like I know the Commanders play in a very division that three teams within the playoffs, but if you're the Commanders, man, you're a team that you're looking at that you got the eighth most difficult schedule. You got to be kicking yourself. I was saying with the Rams. I mean, the Rams were a top like five worst team in the NFL last season. They have the ninth most difficult schedule in the NFL next year.
I also think what plays a role in that is obviously because you play your division twice a year, right? So Washington and the Rams, you're in two tough divisions. The NFC East is a tough division. The NFC West is a tough division. So that has to play a role in your strength of schedule. And like that's what that's eight. That's literally 8 games right there. That's like damn. That's tough. So I got if you're the Commanders, Then I got the Eagles twice a year. They just went to the Super Bowl. I got the Cowboys twice a year. They ain't nothing to sleep. They ain't nothing to slouch at. And the Giants are trying to make their waves in the world, and it's like, God damn it! And the in division games are already hard.
Yep, because I mean you see
Right?
each other all the time. You basically know what the other ones like to do. It's very difficult to like catch one of your teams in your division off guard. It doesn't
Like,
happen very often.
it does not happen. Like the only thing that you can hope for is, hey, we just catch them on the off day, or some of their key components are injured. That kind of not wishing injury on anybody, but it's like so. Like think about the Cardinals. Are you talking about the Rams and the Commanders? The Cardinals are 11 and they don't have a quarterback.
Yeah. Talk about getting a tough break, right? Like you're arguably going to have the worst. You have the worst team on paper in the league, and you have a top 15 schedule this season in terms of difficulty.
That's tough. That is tough. And then the Broncos, like if there's one team I would want to be right now is low key the Broncos because it's the expectations are so low that they
Uh,
can't.
I'm not sure they are
No,
that
no, no,
low.
no, 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 no. They're like after the season they had last year. Like, what is there to be excited about in Denver?
Let's ride,
Honestly,
baby. Sean Payton,
honestly,
man.
honestly, like what is like and
We do have a comment from the Facebook page. They want to know our thoughts on the Chiefs. So, what's your thoughts on the Chiefs? And their
man,
schedule is 16th most difficult. Thoughts on the Chiefs, as from our friend John Grantham. Sorry if I
man,
mispronounced that. Yeah. So, what's up, John? So, your thoughts on the Chiefs, TJ?
the Chiefs are the Chiefs. Like you want what's the Rick Flair saying? You want to beat the man, you got to beat the man. And until somebody beat the Chiefs, ain't nobody else the man.
Yeah, I agree.
Prediction.
I mean, I don't know. Prediction. I don't know exactly what that
Oh,
means.
prediction. He probably meant uh,
Well, hey, if you want to see our prediction about the Kansas City Chiefs, you're gonna have to check out our season preview when we do that later this month. So keep an eye out for that content. You know, a little bit of teaser there. You know, but I do think Kansas City is gonna be good. I haven't looked at their individual schedule, but I imagine they're gonna win 12 games this season for sure. They're a lock for it.
yeah, anywhere from 12 to 14 wins. Like that's yeah.
Kansas City is one of the benchmarks in the NFL, and like they'll probably be the number one seed in the AFC. They will probably have home court advantage throughout the playoffs. They're going to be good.
As per usual.
I expect good things out of Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm sorry. Uh, so they're gonna be excellent this season. Thank you very much for your question. If you have any other, go ahead and drop them in the comment section. We appreciate it. But yeah, I think one of the things, Kansas City also lucky. You know, they have the 16th easiest schedule. That's because Denver was down last season. The
Mm-hmm.
the
The
Las
Raiders
Vegas
are down.
Raiders were down. I mean, I haven't looked at their cross rivalry, who they play in the other division, but I mean that's a good break for Kansas City. The fact that they have the 60, they're coming off a Super Bowl win. They're middle of the pack.
The middle of the pack. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
middle of the pack.
And I also think another team that's really benefiting from the fact that their schedule is what it is. I mean, is the Ravens. Everybody in the AFC North. I mean, Bengals 17, Ravens 21, Steelers 25, Browns 26.
Mm,
Especially the Cleveland Browns. So we have the seventh easiest schedule, and we having Deshaun Watson back. They just traded for Big
Zadar-
Z.
Zadarius Smith.
Yeah, it's Darius Smith. I mean, that's a pretty good move. They had a solid draft. Also, they didn't have many picks, but they used value on them. They're a sneaky team that has a really easy schedule that could, shock some people. Carolina, another team that like was not that far out of winning the NFC South last season. If they had just gotten a couple games here and there,
So my
I mean,
question to that is, all right, so like, were they really that good, or just was the division just that damn terrible?
I think you know the answer to that, TJ.
That's a legit question.
Oh, the division was trash. The
Okay,
division was it was the division is the reason they were competitive last season. It had nothing to do with their play on the
it's
football
almost
field.
like no one wanted to win the NFC South.
Man, I mean, I must have made that joke every week. Like it
Like,
never
who
would.
wants to win this thing?
Yeah.
I also think a benefactor is the Packers. Like you're starting over, basically, quote unquote, starting over with a new quarterback, and what better way to get his confidence right with a brand new with a weaker schedule? Like you get the Bears week 1, and you're probably favorite to win that game, which is insane.
I don't know.
Uh,
I don't think they will be.
I think they will be considering
I haven't looked at the spread or something, but I would
it's
imagine that
not because it's not out yet.
I would imagine the Bears might be favored in that game.
Like it's not out yet, so it's but yeah, like you already know Izzy's thinking like 10-7 and all that
Yeah,
other
no,
good.
no way, no way.
So like that's what I'm saying. I'm like no, be realistic. I'm like 8 to 9 wins is a good year. 7 should be what you should expect. Mostly because what's his name, Gutekunst is like he's preaching patience for Jordan Love, and it's everybody's like, dude, he's been sitting for 3 years. The one thing he don't have is patience. Like he can't be patient. Like
Yeah.
you have, like he got to come out locked,
Well,
loaded, and ready
they
to
also
go.
just like they have an extension, so now he's going to be a free agent. I think instead of having, so yeah, they've extended him as opposed to declining their 5th year option. Like, yeah, it's going to be interesting how they
Yeah,
end up working this. So
you got to be
like
locked, loaded,
they
ready
have
to go.
they have unknowingly accelerated their own timeline by
Yeah,
giving him that contract. So they could have just accepted his 5th year option, have 2 years under contract, and then just roll with it for there.
and if you're also the Colts, weak division, new quarterback, potentially, I don't see why they wouldn't start Anthony Richardson. You because like quarterbacks like him, like I'm torn on because it's you want him to sit so he can work on mechanics and stuff like that, like the finer tools of the game. But you want him to play because he was such a high draft pick.
And I also think the thing is like, so if the Colts, I mean, if you because Gardner Minshew's in like the worst position ever, right? We're gonna talk about him when we actually do the Colts preview, but like Gardner Minshew's in a terrible position because he's probably going to be the starting quarterback that nobody wants to be the starting quarterback. But if he plays well, good. If he doesn't play well, he's going to get booed out of the building until they start Anthony Richardson. Like he's in a lose situation. Um, yeah,
Well,
I think the Colts is
it could be a situation where it's like they start him for like X amount of games, and all of a sudden they turn it over to Anthony Richardson, which I you already know how I feel about that. If you're gonna play the kid, play the kid. If you're gonna
yep,
sit him, sit him.
100%. You're either going to go all, you're either going to let him play, or yeah, for sure bench him. Let's move on from strength of schedule. Let's talk about primetime games in the limelight. So 6 games. These teams have 6 primetime games. Kansas City Chiefs, Chargers, Bills, and Cowboys. The teams that have 0 primetime games, Atlanta, Arizona, Texans, and the Colts have 0 primetime games. The Commanders have 1. The Buccaneers, Browns, Titans, Panthers, Rams have 2. The Saints have the 3 games with the Saints, Seahawks, Jaguars, and Dolphins, and 2 of those games are international games for the Jaguars. 4 games for the Lions, Bears, Broncos, Ravens, Bengals, Patriots, Steelers, and 5 games, Jets, Giants, Packers, Vikings, Raiders, somehow for some reason, Eagles, and 49ers. And then 6 games, Chiefs, Chargers, Bills, Cowboys. Anything interesting that you find with this list? Who has primetime games and who does not?
No, the Falcons don't have a quarterback. The Cardinals don't have a quarterback. I'm surprised the Texans don't have at least one with C.J. Stroud
Me too.
because that's a rookie quarterback and he's making his Yeah, you want to show off the shiny new toy, right?
Yeah, yeah. I figured they at least get one game. I think it's shocking that the Raiders still have five primetime games. Like
It's,
I realize that they want to show off the new stadium, maybe still, but like they're not going to be all that good this season. They have five primetime games. The fact that Seattle, the Jaguars only have three, and they were playoff teams last year,
yeah,
and also
yeah.
how the mighty have fallen with the Rams. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl last year. They had a lot of
2
primetime
years
games,
ago.
and now they get two.
Because they beat the hell. They were beat to hell.
Yep.
They were beat the, so like again, Chiefs. You're gonna put them in there because they just won a Super Bowl. I feel like the Eagles should have the Chiefs and the Eagles should have the most primetime games because that's the two teams that played in the Super Bowl. Right? I think that's how they should base it. So it's like you got the two teams in the NFC that were Super Bowl played in the Super Bowl. Then you got the two teams that lost the championship games. They should have the second most, and so on and so forth. So in my opinion, like the teams that didn't make the playoffs, like the Lions, the Bears, 4 games, that's the shit. That's too much.
Yeah, I agree. When I put this list together, I was like, the Bears have four primetime games. Like that seems like a lot.
No, shit. I'm like, that's quite a bit. Like for a team that didn't do nothing, and then same thing with the Broncos. Hey, that's hey, but hey, it is what it is. I don't make the schedule. We already know why.
I'm certainly not gonna complain about it, right? Like,
Right, we already know why the Cardinals don't have any primetime games.
they're
The
not worth
odd
watching this season.
that and the odds of Kyler Murray coming back and playing any meaningful football for them is kind of low. Like if it's Kyler Murray, like if Kyler Murray's playing, then obviously this is a different story.
Yeah,
Like they are
I
quick to throw
mean,
they are quick to throw the Cardinals and the Rams together on a Monday night
yeah, yeah,
on
yeah,
a
yeah.
Monday night slide, right?
I think it's just without Kyler Murray. Looking at the Arizona Cardinals, they might be the most least talented team. I'm not sure who their quarterback even is.
I don't either.
I mean, TJ $1,000. Who's their quarterback?
I don't know. Cause you you probably don't even have $1,000 to give me.
That's fair. That's fair. But also, I don't know who it is. I mean, is it going to be Colt McCoy? Is he still there? Like. Does anyone know? Like, if you know down in the comments section who the Arizona Cardinals starting quarterback is going to be next season, let us know because we don't know.
Like, it's just, and they got a new head coach. It's like, man, they finna go through it.
Yeah, they're going to struggle this season, and I'm not surprised. Atlanta, they don't really outside of Bijan Robinson, they don't really have those ass in seats guys that you really going to be like, oh man, the Falcons are on TV, we got to watch them. I just don't see those guys on that roster. I'm surprised the Colts don't have a game. I'm surprised the Texans didn't get a game. Given that they just drafted rookie quarterbacks, you think you'd want to see them in prime time. I'm shocked that the Commanders have a game. If I'm being frank with you, I imagine it's a Thursday night game, but I don't know that.
Uh,
I don't know that for sure.
I think it is because I think it's the Bears.
It might be
Actually,
against the Bears.
like no, I'm like not even joking. Like I legit think it is.
Yeah, it is.
It
Amazon
is.
Prime, October 5th, Bears Commanders. Yeah. So their one primetime game is against the Chicago Bears. And you know what? I always thought it was a rule that every single team in the NFL got at least one primetime game. I always thought that was a rule. And then when I was putting this list together, I was like, four teams don't have a single game? Like, really? What?
Oh, because sometimes like they got added that because the product was just terrible.
Yeah,
Because
but you have so many primetime games available now. Like you think if you throw a bone to a Colts game and throw them on a Thursday night where nobody's either they don't really care all that much that nobody's watching. Like just give them like a little bit of a like towards the end of the season even like I'm shocked. I just always thought that was a rule.
yep, nope, nope.
Yeah, I learned that today. So or yesterday when I put these graphics together. But any other major takeaways from the prime time or just the NFL schedule in general before we get up out of here today?
No, it's about what we expected. They want to see, like they want to show off who they want to show off, and it should be no surprise to anyone who has like the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the yeah, like that should be a surprise to no one that they have the most prime time
Yeah,
game.
100%. Bills, Chargers, Cowboys, those are like the marquee franchises in the NFL, especially the Cowboys, Chiefs, and Bills. I think Chargers, just because of that stadium, they basically have taken the Rams role from last season. I would be interested to see, like, what the fluctuation is, like what the from year to year, like what the difference is between primetime games, like who plays more this year or that year. I would, maybe I'll do some research and find that out here down the stretch here. But yeah, that's been our NFL schedule breakdown. Thank you very much for joining us. Tomorrow, I mean, Izzy, you're going to be breaking down the fantasy football conversation and breaking down some fantasy football stuff. I know, TJ, don't get upset. But this has been our NFL schedule breakdown. Next week we're going to be We're going to be going through all 32 NFL teams, starting in the. Let's start with the AFC South and go all the way up into the AFC West with the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. That'll be our next project over the next couple months up until the kickoff of the NFL year. So thank you very much for checking all that out. I'm your host, David On Point Huffman. Right there is my co-host, Mr. TJ Hopkins. And TJ, what we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat.
Yes, sir. And I could use a little more heat here at Fort Wayne. It's a little chipply, a little nipply outside. It's supposed to be like in the 30 degrees tomorrow morning. So not fun. But you have a good night, man. I will see you next week.
See ya.
Peace out, bud.